much shame. I'm the man blaming I've been framed for. Oh Lord, where this love has grown painful. Won't you rain your love down on me?
Hi there.
Well, it's such a
Thank you for that introduction. My name is Natalie Cecil, and I'm here on behalf of PMG out of Dallas-Fort Worth. And accompanying me is Linda Balfour. She's the brand marketing director at Keen Footwear out of Portland, Oregon. So today we are going to talk to you about a recent campaign with Keen that was launched in mid-March around the product Unique and how that creative is themed around irreverence and then essentially going after a new target audience for the Keen brand. So with that, Keen is a company that is truly inspired by the outdoors, oftentimes putting one foot in front of the other and never really doing anything against the status quo. So with that, how does product influence the lifestyle and essence of the Keen brand?
So before I jump into how product influences the brand, how many of you guys have heard of Keen? Holy cow, wow. I love you guys. So Keen is, like Natalie said, we're a fairly small brand out of Portland, Oregon. I was shocked that so many of you know us because we actually have about 6% unaided brand awareness in the US, so it's pretty low. So usually when I ask that question, about an eighth of the audience raises their hand. So a lot of you guys then are probably familiar with this shoe right here. And this is the Newport. It is the shoe that put the brand on the map. It started with a super simple question: can a sandal protect your toe? And the answer was yes, and this product was born. Since then, like Natalie said, we have jumped in with both feet first at every opportunity along the way. This really established the DNA of the brand and the idea that looking good, feeling good, and doing good are not mutually exclusive opportunities.
Awesome. So touching on this true freedom and knowing that you're a brand that continuously is about innovation, how are you fearlessly delivering new product, and how did Unique come to be?
Okay, so another question for you guys. How many people here are shoemakers? All right, I've got one on you at least. So for those of you that are wearing shoes right now, you could probably look down and understand that your shoes are made out of a flat piece of material, right? And then that material gets cut into patterns and sewn together. And you get these great shoes that you're wearing. And for the most part, they're really comfortable. We have an advanced concepts group, though, that doesn't ever do anything normal, right? And so they took a step back and said, wow, our shoes are really comfortable, but we think they could be even more comfortable. What if we throw aside all of the manufacturing techniques that we've been doing for the past 12 years and go about making shoes completely differently? What could we do to make them fit better? And so what they did is they came up with this shoe, and this is called Unique. Unique is made out of 2 cords and a sole, and it actually is made so that the cords will wrap around your foot and fit in organic shapes so it feels like you're wearing nothing or closer to wearing a sock. I see some skeptical faces out here with this shoe. You probably looked at this one skeptically too at one point, and you may still. But I think that's exactly what the opportunity with Unique is. It's super, super polarizing. We had probably 40% of the world that looked at this and said, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. Don't even launch it. And then we had 30% of the world that loved it so much that they were chasing it down before it was even available. So really polarizing shoe. And when you get something that's polarizing, you know that you potentially have lightning in a bottle, right? You know that you can launch it and you can make an impact. And for us, we knew that this right here appeals to the core outdoor person and a lot to the boomer audience. We knew that this is starting to look a lot more urban, a lot more different, and a lot more colorful, and could potentially appeal to the millennial audience. And so what we wanted to do with this shoe was look at it differently and look at everything that we did around it differently. So meet Unique.
So in meeting Unique, we're going to show you a few clips of the actual campaign creative that is running and will continue to run here through early summer. Really kind of just highlighting that irreverent nature of the campaign and essentially like having a very unique spin on and twist with the creative. So seeing that this product is truly unconventional, how did you approach media buying strategy to really create this story and amplify the uniqueness of the shoe with your partners?
So I don't know how many of you guys have gone through this shift where you're like, we know who our core consumer is, we know the consumer that we want to talk to, and what are we going to do to get there? And I think Natalie mentioned, or I mentioned, Keen jumps into everything with both feet first. So our immediate response was, we've been doing it this way, let's stop doing that entirely and do it some other way. And then we realized that actually in that original mix, there's a lot of people that are our age that love the product and love the brand, and they are our key influencers. But then there's also this totally different audience that's also going to drive influence. And so what we wanted to do was create a baseline with the core outdoor publications, the Outsides and the Backpackers, and the sites that go along with that, the Gear Junkies and the Active Junkies. But then also to align all of our agencies and all of our effort on reaching that new target consumer.
So tell me a little bit more about aligning all of those agencies and really creating and working with multiple groups and those respective partners to really create a campaign that did build that awareness and really have an impact.
Yeah, so Keen's got a really small marketing team. And with that team, what we do is we rely heavily on agencies to help us with doing some of the heavy lifting. And so with the launch of Unique, what we had to do was actually really make sure that everybody was on the same page, that we were like all guns firing at the exact, that was a horrible analogy, sorry, that we were all laser focused on the same target consumer and making sure that we could move the needle there.
Yeah, so being considered a small brand and having a very big task in front of you, how do you go about winnowing down all the different opportunities that have come across the table and know what's worth testing and what's not worth testing?
Right. When you launch a brand, I've been with Keen luckily for 10 years, so I was with it at the beginning, and for the first 9.5 years, a lot of it was really based on gut, right? We knew exactly who the outdoor consumer was, and we knew how we wanted to reach them and how they like to be talked to. But as we started to pull in this bigger group and try to get more urban and more millennial, we really started to look to our agencies to help us blend the art and the science of marketing and bring them together so that we were able to identify where our audiences were and to push all of the stuff aside that wasn't going to move the needle for us.
So tell me about some of those experiences where you're pushing aside and you're testing and kind of cutting through that clutter to really have an impact within a new audience.
So one of the biggest challenges we had at first was that Unique, we thought, was going to appeal to women. Right. And when we first launched it, we were getting a lot of guys that liked it, and women weren't looking at the shoe at all. And so we went to PMG and said, hey, PMG, give me a media mix that's going to hit 50% women and 50% men. And when they did that, what they brought back to me as a women's site was women's health. As an outdoor girl, I was like, holy cow, not women's health. That is way too big, it's way too broad, and it's way too expensive.
Yeah.
And Natalie convinced me, you know what, you gave me who you wanted to talk to, you told me who your influencer was, and this is where you're gonna reach them. And then 2 weeks went by on women's health, and we weren't driving the click-through rates that I wanted. But Natalie asked for a little bit of patience and started to finesse the campaign, and now women's health is one of our strongest performers. So I think the lesson there for Keen was that even though you know what your target demographic is, it's not going to be a slam dunk at first. There's a lot of work and finessing and constantly monitoring and understanding where you're moving the needle and doing more of that. I think another great example of that was you saw some video content up there, and that video content we felt like was really going to drive the campaign forward. It was something fresh and new for the brand, and so we wanted to make sure that that was getting pushed out. So in our media strategy, we added a site called Yumi, or a network called Yumi, and Yumi serves videos. And the same thing, and this was a lot quicker, in the first week, we were seeing super low clicks, and the views weren't even that great. And so we considered, should we shift and pull that and put those dollars someplace else, because we have a fairly small budget. Instead, we finessed that even more, and now we're seeing about 8% click-through rates on that. So it's performing really, really strongly for us. So again, this idea of understanding where you can take risks, understanding why you're taking risks there, and then really being able to push the needle further and be fearless in what you're doing.
Right. So not neglecting your core audience and those historical partnerships that you've built up over the course of the last 10 years or the last decade. How are some of your largest, more historical partners developing content that isn't necessarily the content that we see in the video, and they're building microsites and publishing unique stories? How are you able as a brand to let that creative liberty or loosen that control for them to have that creative liberty?
Yeah, so we know that content is king these days, and that we can't be responsible for producing all of it. We also know that we built a really great brief, and it goes back to the brief, that we were very aligned on our influencers, and that we had a product that should align or that should follow through on that promise. So what we did is we actually handed over the creative keys to our publishers. And that's a little risky too, right? Because they can go completely haywire. And when we're talking about handing over the keys, we're talking about people like the Gear Junkie,
right.
Which is a great review site that captures the millennial outdoor consumer. And I kind of trust them because they've covered the brand for years and they know us a lot. And they created an awesome microsite called Rare Earth, which was a bucket list site of things like sand surfing or camel joring or racing a sidecar vehicle across the I don't know, someplace in Russia. But it was a bucket list site, and it created a lot of shareability and was really, really cool. And then on the completely other side, when we talked about urban outdoors, we wanted to see what that shoe was going to look like styled up for the stylish outdoor consumer in the wild of the city. So we went to Selectism, and we asked them in High Snobiety, and we asked them to do some styled up images of the product for us. And the cool thing is, we went to them because of their demographic and the people that were reading their site and following them on social. And then we had Gear Junkie all the way over here that had similar demographics and similar profiles. They don't seem like they're the same, so it was a huge risk to go both ways, and they're both performing. So again, knowing that you're mixing that science and the art, going with your gut, and letting those things run their course is really important.
So knowing that you have all of this positive success from these different publishers and these different social forums, how do you internally go to the leadership team and report on this campaign or this initiative outside of an ROI or last click model?
Yeah. All right. After this, we're going to open up for questions on the floor as well.
Perfect. So I think reporting starts before the campaign even launches, right? It starts before the planning even launches, and setting a really clear standard for me, with my executive team, to know what success looked like to them. So we had a very kind of straightforward way of looking at digital, where if I put in $1, I want to see $3 out, right? And so this campaign was a long-term build to a new consumer, and the first step there. So that was the first part of successful reporting, is making sure that we were all looking at the same benchmarks and understood what success looked like. And then after that, what we did is we actually circulate a monthly report, or it's actually every other week, on everything going on around Younique. So what it looks like in retail, what campaigns are running, what partner content is running, what's going on Instagram, how our photo contest is doing, and then what sell-through looks like. So you're surrounding hard numbers with all of the content that's happening in the world and every place that people are seeing the product, so that you get a 360 view of what success looks like.
Great. If anyone has any questions, we have some time. We have mics over there.
Yeah.
So big fan of your product. Lisa with Zappos. We love you guys. So I'm very curious about an attribution system, whether it's internal, external, is it multi-touch? Like, do you have any thought? I'm assuming you've got various different parts of your marketing. So my question is just, what are you doing about attribution?
You know what, and
seconds?
I'll let Natalie answer that one, because we've had so many conversations around it.
Okay, so it's agency driven, or is it?
It's a combination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from a holistic reporting. We report on both post-click and post-view on behalf of Keen. And what we do is, throughout the course of our relationship, have established this barometer of what contribution we need to pull in from a post-view perspective, because we do realize that it is impacting the purchase path and that funnel. So we take a certain percentage of those post-view orders or revenue or sales and funnel that into their reporting for.
How did you determine what you said? You know what attributes, but how did you figure that out? Did you A/B on something, or did you just?
A lot of time, a lot of data science, and a lot of just analytics and open conversations with Linda, as well as the executive team at Keen, on what they're willing to see on a post-view attribution.
I think a lot of it for us was like, okay, PR is claiming this, social's claiming this, media is claiming this, oh, and our email team is claiming this as well, right? And so we've kind of look at each one of those in a silo, and then look at how all of the layers are working together.
All right, we're out of time, unfortunately, but thanks to both of you ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks.